We are gonna make some Nightmare Before Christmas cookies. This is from, oops, there goes my clip. The Nightmare Before Christmas, the official cookbook entertaining guide. I will link the book down below if you want the full recipe. And I think Nutmeg is gonna supervise. This is a black and white cookie recipe, and looking over the ingredients, it's a typical kind of like a sugar cookie recipe. The only difference is this one actually has sour cream in it. Never worked with sour cream before. So we're gonna need butter, eggs. Again, I'm not showing, if you've watched any of my recipe books, I don't show the actual full recipe because out of the respect for the author, if you want it, you need to buy the book. I'm just gonna show how it turns out and a couple steps along the way. And baking powder, baking soda, salt, vanilla, flour, sugar, just all the typical ingredients for a vanilla cookie base. Nutmeg. Just shake this at them and they get the point. Okay. And then I'm out. For the icing, you're going to use cocoa powder. And I've used Nestle cocoa powder before. I like that. I've used Hershey's cocoa powder before. I like that. Went to the store today and Robert saw this. This was the most expensive out of all the cocoa powders. It was like $8.50, but he read somewhere that it was really good, or he saw someone using it. And so this is the cocoa powder we're going to try right now. So I am going to get the dough mixed together. Anyway, I'm sure if you're watching this video, I assume you've seen The Nightmare Before Christmas. So you know the Mare has two faces. So it's the Mare two-faced black and white cookies. It looks really good. And it only makes 12 cookies. I'm used to like recipes making a dozen or 2 dozen. So we'll see how this turns out. The dough is mixing up good. So it said, so I had the wet ingredients, not counting the sour cream. You add half the dry, and then you add the cup of sour cream, and then you add the rest of the dry. So like I mentioned earlier, first time I ever used sour cream in a cookie dough. And this is the dough. It is very, very sticky. The instructions say to use like a 1/4 cup to form your dough ball. And it's gonna make 12 cookies. It's gonna make big cookies. So I don't know how it's gonna work. Let's give it a try. I don't know how much they're gonna spread, so I'm just gonna do 3 per sheet, 2 batches. And I think I used too much of the dough, so they might be too big. Let's see what happens. I just made the glaze for the cookies, and it's not white because I just had regular vanilla. I used to have like clear vanilla for baking, so like when you make white icing, the clear vanilla won't, you know, tinge your icing, but I ran out and I haven't bought any new. And then also this recipe says you should eat your cookies within a day, like no more than like 1 or 2 days. And I was trying to figure out why. I'm like, why? Well, I think it's because there's milk in this icing, which I've made glaze without milk. So if I would have thought about it, I wish I would not have put the milk in it, because I don't like the idea that I need to eat 12 cookies within a day or 2. I mean, of course, my husband's gonna help me, but I like my cookies to last longer. So I can only assume it's the milk in the icing. Maybe because the other ingredients, you know, the sour cream is baked, so that's not an issue. But this milk is just in this glaze, so it's gotta be the milk. Okay, and then now we take half the glaze and put it in a different container and add cocoa powder to make the chocolate portion of the black and white cookie. Chocolate glaze, there's some powdered sugar in it. So it says to thicken it up, to put powdered sugar in it a little more, and then to thin it out if it's too thick, a little milk. So I actually only put 1 tablespoon of chocolate powder in here. I just mentioned this because the instructions said 3 tablespoons, and that is just way too much for the cocoa powder that I'm using. It says to ice the bottom of the cookies. So here are my cookies, not flat at all. So I'm gonna start with the white, and then you ice one side. It doesn't say to dip it. It just says to ice it. I guess with a spatula, I don't know. Ice one side and then put in the refrigerator for 15 minutes and then ice the other side. All right, I kind of put it on sparingly because I was afraid I wasn't gonna have enough glaze. So really what I should have done is not made the chocolate glaze until after. I should have just iced all the cookies, and then what was left turn that into the chocolate glaze instead of divvying up first. Now I'm gonna put this in the fridge. It's dripping. I probably should have made it a little thicker. Oh, and it doesn't help that my cookies are not flat on the bottom. But I will say, this glaze is absolutely delicious. I would definitely use this glaze recipe again. I can't taste the milk in it, so I think water would have been a fine substitution. So the white glaze didn't set up completely after 15 minutes, and the chocolate glaze is just leaking all over, and I actually made it thicker, so I don't know. I mean, I know it doesn't help that like it said, turn it over and ice the bottom, but the other side is like, you know, rounded, so it's not laying flat, and that's making it a lot more difficult. So I'm gonna put this in the fridge. I'm gonna actually, it's late right now, I'm gonna let it refrigerate overnight, see if it will set really good, and then we'll do a taste test in the morning. Refrigerate, you know what I meant. It's the next morning. Oh, that's set up nice, so I can still fingerprint it, but it's set up nice. So I just took it out of the refrigerator. It's very cold. I'm gonna let it sit out for an hour to come to room temperature, and then we'll do a taste test, because I'm not a fan of like cold cookies, but I think they look really good. Taste test. Oh, it's really good. That was the chocolate side. It's definitely cakey. This is good. I would make these again. It's like a really good fluffy sugar cookie, I guess. I would do this again. I would make these again. Maybe smaller. Maybe they don't need to be so big. And the glaze, I would use that glaze recipe again. Definitely recommend.